This week, we're going to be talking about your key production indicators, your KPIs, right? KPIs. And what are KPIs? Basically it's your numbers. And why is it that we need to be, looking at our numbers? Why should you track your ratios, your numbers in your real estate business? I know for a individual agent who's not on a team, solo agent, this is a way for you to improve your conversion, right? To understand what part of the business you need help with. It's to help you understand, hey, this is where I need to put more time into, right? As a team lead, it becomes better for you to look at, hey, where should I spend my marketing dollars? What's working, what's not working? So understanding your ratios are key. So remember, knowledge is power. And as a business owner, at the end of the day, you're looking at the profit, right? The attention to, the numbers that we have is basically related to the bottom line, right? See, numbers by themselves are pretty useless. However, when the numbers are seen in relationship with others, when you're showing a ratio, a business owner can basically look at this and make those decisions that you need to make. So what is it? What does that really mean? Well, before we get started, let's think of it this way, right? It's looking at the number typically as X to 1. Always having the second number be the 1. Okay. So, this way you can really evaluate what's going on, right? It's like, for example, miles per 1 gallon, pounds per 1 cubic inch, right? You're not going to use 167 miles in 87 seconds. That's too difficult to put into perspective. But you will say, 150 miles per hour, right? So it's looking at it from this ratio to 1, right? So let's look at this. So the first one I want you to write down would be at the top of your page. Write down hours of power to conversations. Hours of power to conversation. See, this tells you about the quality of your leads, your strategy for calling them, and or the language you're using. For example, if you're calling around a just listed or a just sold, right? You'll have fewer conversations per hour than if you're calling people within your database where you have their cell numbers, right? Or it could be the time of the day that you're calling, maybe the wrong time to call. If you're making calls, at between 10, 11, 12 noon, you're going to have less connections than if you started your calls before 9, by 9, right? So it's understanding the call, the timing, and who you're calling. Right? So a low ratio here would indicate that perhaps even your scripts and dialogues and your mindset to making the calls are low. So you have to be careful with your mindset and your purpose for making the calls. So here's a ratio I would use. Good would be 1 hour power should produce about 6 conversations. Poor would be 1 hour power producing only 2 conversations. So kind of using it as a measuring stick. If you use a dialer, for example, an automatic dialer, then the goal should be sitting around that 15 to 20 mark per conversation. Okay. Next ratio I want you to look at would be conversations to appointment. See, this tells about the effectiveness of your conversations. So good would be 10 conversations may produce 2 appointments, right? Versus 40 conversations producing 2 appointments. And again, this comes to how effective are you in your conversation? How effective are you in pacing and leading a conversation, right? How effective are you in repeating and approving after a question, right? See, a poor ratio could indicate the language, the conversations, and effective. It could also indicate that the leads are poor quality, not just what you're saying to them. So by reflecting on this particular ratio, you can work to improve either your scripts and dialogues, your delivery, and perhaps even the focus on who you're connecting with, right? Next one I want you to write down is appointments to listings. Appointments to listings. Again, the more the ratio approaches the 1-to-1, right, the better you are at doing this, right? If your ratio is 10 appointments to 1 listing, that's problematic, right? Either you're not doing a proper job of qualifying during the conversation, or you're not effectively preparing to demonstrate your value while on the presentation, right? So this is a real important ratio where you need to work on the presentation, the script delivery, right? Whatever it may be to improve this ratio. The goal is to get to 1-to-1. Now, I would say that if you went on 10 listing appointments and you got 8, that would be amazing. When you get below that 6 mark, we need to really work on this. Okay. Next one I want you to write down would be listings to transactions closed. Okay, transactions closed. So a poor ratio here would be for every 2 listings, you got 1 closing, right? So that means 50% of the listings you're getting here are not selling. And in today's market, that's pretty much impossible, right? So it really comes down to pricing and maybe even just doing a good job in your marketing and getting interest here. So if you're getting like 2 listings and only 1 selling, there's an issue here, right? So what is it? Are you pricing incorrectly? Are you not marketing properly? Okay. Next one I wrote down will be appointments to close transactions. Appointments to close transactions. This is the combination of a leading indicator and a lagging indicator, right? Similar to, the ratio between hours of power and closed transactions. The conversations, right, would be from what you're having to what you're closing. This ratio jumps up in numbers. So in the middle step, you can tell what specifically you might want to improve in your performance. But I can tell you that what you need to do is to achieve these goals. For example, if you need to make 1 sale every 2 weeks, the ratio would be 14-to-1, right? If you need to book 7 appointments for that week, this ratio is very important when it comes to goal setting. So when you're looking at your goal setting, appointments to close transactions, I would look at, hey, how many hours of power to achieve my goal, working it backwards. Right. The next one I wrote down would be closed transactions to commissions earned. Now, obviously, this is the fundamental ratio for our business, right? Right. This tells you how many transactions you need to close in a period to achieve the goals that you want, your financial goal. And again, there are many other ratios that you can look at, right, that set these numbers. And of course, the more important that they are to you, when you're looking at your real estate business, which ratios are the most important ones for you right now? Do you take the time to sit down and look at your numbers? Are you reviewing it? How often are you reviewing these numbers, right? So I would say, at least on the weekly, take a look at your performance for the week. Ask yourself, hey, did I do what I needed to do this week to hit my goals? We all have a yearly goal. We all have a quarterly goal. What's your weekly goal? Have you sat down and looked at it? How many conversations do you need to have each week to achieve your goals that's in your business plan? Those of you, and I could tell you right now, one of the clients that I'm coaching right now out of Victoria, BC, he's at 500,000 GCI year to date. So this year, right? And we're less than 3 months in. That client is very particular in his numbers. He knows his numbers, really working and understanding his numbers. He is actually more of a fanatic than I am when it comes to numbers, right? So do numbers work? Yes, they work. You just need to understand what your numbers need to be. And once you do, That's where the fun step comes in. We're like, hey, I know my numbers. I know what I have to achieve, right? So now you become fanatical on how to improve those numbers, right? I want to go on a listing appointment, right? Go on 10 listing appointments and get 9 of these listings. I want to be able to have 20 conversations with people and set 3 listing appointments. Well, you're not going to do that unless you're looking at ways to improve. And the only way you're going to look for ways to improve is by knowing your numbers. So knowing the numbers is key, right? The next one I wrote down, and this is probably the most important, the number 1 ratio for you is this: time spent working in your business to time spent working on your business. See, you can't build a business without planning, organizing, tracking, and finally reflecting on your numbers and ratios. That's what it means when it comes to working on your business. This ratio takes into account the time you spend each day or week entering in your numbers, planning your schedule, engaging with me as your coach, right? Working on your business isn't money time, but it is critical to making money, right? We know this. So that's because the time that you evaluate your ratios takes place. And by evaluating those ratios, you improve your performance, right? That's what it comes down to, it, improving your performance. Who here would like to spend less time on the phones? Let's be honest. Everyone does, right? So maybe knowing who to call, knowing that if I call these people, I can get better results. So why am I calling those people where it takes longer to get those results? Keep track of your numbers, and you'll spend less time doing the things you don't like. You'll spend less time qualifying. You'll spend less time going on unqualified appointments when you reflect on your numbers. Do you know, hey, I've been in this situation. If I go on this appointment without qualifying them, right, I know what may happen. I may just be wasting 3 hours of my time. So knowing your ratios, knowing your numbers, that will help you not only in being better with your business, being better with your time, but mentally, you're going to be in a better headspace simply because you're working with better qualified people. All right, folks, any questions regarding your KPIs, any questions regarding your numbers and ratios here? No, you guys all good? Then just a reminder, hey, we are doing the listing challenge. Let's go out there and get some listings. Please unmute yourselves. Everyone, please unmute yourselves. See you, Nick. See you, Eamon. All right, so please, what day is it today?
It's money-making day, baby.
Right. It's a money-making day. If you're on this call, it's a money-making day for you. So who do you have to connect with today to help you move the needle in your business? You guys are all awesome. I'll talk to all of you tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.